continuous advocacy for a transition to renewable energy, experts are advocating an inclusive strategy to ensure that no one is left behind. Senior consultant Nigeria, Belgium, Luxembourg Business Forum, Collins Oweke, also believes that although the transition to renewable energy is necessary and urgent in addressing the global climate crisis, an abrupt shift away from fossil fuels risks causing economic dislocation for many African nations whose economies remain heavily dependent on oil revenues. He says a pragmatic approach rooted in accelerating clean energy adoption while also investing in economic diversification, workforce retraining, and equitable development is much needed. Well, senior consultant, Nigerian, Belgium, Luxembourg Business Forum, Collins Oweke joins me on the news this hour. It's good to have you join us. So let's talk about your own view about, moving away from fossil fuel. You're saying is sort of an harassment. I read it from your own article. Right, so talk to us about that. And I would ask the same question in that article. What exactly do you want?
Well, thank you very much, Olumide, for having me.
Right.
I think I'm more comfortable starting with what I don't want.
Okay.
I don't want Africa or Nigeria harassed because, there is a need for transition to renewable energy. As you know, Nigeria is rich in oil. And oil is not gone entirely. It should, at some point, transit to, renewable. But at the moment, you can consider oil, as far as Nigeria, Africa is concerned, as, a dying commodity. And until it dies, we have to, bridge the gap. And bridging that gap means that we have to be pragmatic. We have to also be realistic about the sacrifices that, the world is expecting Nigeria and the rest of Africa to make. So instead of, emphasizing so very heavily on the sacrifices that need to be made, we should be talking of a strategy. And that transition strategy is actually what we are preaching now. That's on the, global scale. Now, I also want to address my, Nigerian, African consumers, but also, businesses and the consumers, that it is no longer a question of if we're going to get rid, or if the world is going to get rid of oil. Okay. It is definitely going to happen. The question is when. Now, are we comfortable, just staying behind and, let others determine how it goes? No. We should be part of that conversation, but we should also look and see what businesses could be harnessed, what opportunities are in that transition that we're talking about, the transition to renewable. And that's what we're doing in the business forum. I
mean, this also raises the concern about the implications that this will have in terms of investments and also, growth. But would you say Nigeria's method at this time, moving away from fossil fuels, is not really pragmatic, like you said?
No. Well, there are a few things that could be done differently, of course.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah. For instance, let's start with, government policies, because, they provide the framework.
Okay.
Nigeria is a signatory to a number of, international accords that have to do with renewable energy. So one way or the other, somehow, Nigeria's hands are tied because the international expectation is very much they need to, respect some protocols. So the question is, are there things Nigeria should be stepping back on? In terms of the commitment they had made to this accelerated transition from fossil to renewable. Yes, they are. And one of such is to say that European investment, and I'm not talking of, philanthropy, European investment in the area of infrastructure development, in the area of research and development, education and awareness are very much needed here. And we are not saying that you should dole out money to, Nigeria. I will give just one single example. Nigeria's, sun reserve, that's solar, is about 5.5 kilowatts, per hour per day, all right? Whereas that of Belgium, for instance, is about 2.8. So that is nearly double. And that is something that has to be harnessed. But of course, the infrastructure isn't there, the technology isn't there. Okay. And so Belgium brings that to the table. And so the invitation that should be thrown out there to those that are already in the field here in Nigeria in terms of business is to say, yes, you have a willing partner out there in Belgium and Luxembourg. I mean, let's work together. And so ours, as a chamber, is organizing that table to bring demand to meet supply.
All right, so talk to us about the potentials of having, this cooperation, having it being a success in terms of ensuring that, countries themselves can fund themselves. Recall that this is coming at a time where, the United States is saying no to funding. Every other country has to stay on their own. What's the potential for this investment? The
potential is huge, Olamide. I will even start with the European Union. United States is somewhere there, so let's leave them be where they are. Take the EU, for instance. There are a number of funds within the EU to actually support transition. Little or nothing is known about such funds, and essentially what they are saying, what the EU is saying is okay. Let's encourage, the development of the right framework for that. And so there is support for government. We are, inviting state governments and talking with a number of them who are showing interest to explore what is in need for them. And there are quite a lot. And then the private sectors. They are also, the EU is encouraging private sector players in Nigeria on the other transition economies and European economies to team up, assess some of the incentives, some of the finances there to be able to, support the transition. So essentially, the reception that we're having, the business reception that we're having tomorrow is actually bringing some of those, investors who are already here from Belgium and Luxembourg to meet up with those in Nigeria that are interested in that area so they can start playing.
And so talk to us about this forum. Is it only on the national level? Are individuals also open to this forum?
Oh yes, individuals. So it targets both government institutions, but also
states,
mainly states, state governments. A number of them have signed up. They were actually present in the one of last year. So this year, a number of them are lining up as well, both for the one in Lagos tomorrow and the one in Abuja on Thursday, to see what is in need for them, meeting up with some of our delegates. And take, for instance, Frisomat, that is really active in Belgium in the area of infrastructure development. Think of, for instance, another company called, Turbulent.
We're even talking about, individuals themselves, not even really at the company level. But we are looking forward to that conversation, and that will be tomorrow in Lagos.
Absolutely.
Anyways, thank you for talking to us. Senior consultant in Nigeria, Belgium, Luxembourg Business Forum, Collins Wiki. Thank you for talking to us at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for